What up, though? What up, though, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Chopping It Up with Uncle Sean, the podcast. I pushed the wrong button. Yeah, what's up? What's up? How's everybody doing? I'm your humble host, Uncle Sean, here. And the first thing I want to do is kick a black fact for you, because we always got to big up foundational black Americans and the contributions that we've made to this country and the world. So, in the year of 1876, a brother by the name of Thomas A. Carrington invented the stethoscope. That's right, the stethoscope. Very important instrument in medicine, and we've made quite a few contributions to medicine. Some of them voluntary and some of them involuntary, if you know what I mean. Salute to that brother for inventing the stethoscope. I was checking out some, scrolling through, TikTok and YouTube and social media. And I saw something that I found to be quite disturbing. I saw that there was a woman who was being attacked by her mate at her job, which in itself is terrible. I mean, for a woman to be attacked, period, and then this, when somebody, and you hear about that from time to time, where the dude, I guess that's, and I've actually seen it. I've literally seen it. A guy that they're married or dating or whatever, or she's trying to get away from him, and he stalks her up to her job and, tries to do bodily harm to her. It's terrible. And if you're working with this particular female, let's say y'all are cool. You're not dating her or nothing. It ain't nothing like that. It's just you've been working with her for 4 or 5 years or whatever, and y'all cool. Y'all very cordial. You speak to each other. Co-workers. You help each other out at work and interact with each other in a pleasant fashion on the job. No hanky-panky. And her mate comes up to the job to handle her in the roughest of ways. What do? Do you intervene on her behalf? Put yourself in harm's way for your coworker who you are cool with. May even consider to be a friend. Well, an incident like that happened, I believe it was in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. And a guy tried to intervene where his coworker was, I guess she was being assaulted by her, I'm not sure if it was her husband or her mate. And the guy said, "Oh no, that's my coworker. She's being beaten up by this man or whatever." And he goes and he tries to physically intervene, and he ended up getting pew-pew. He ended up getting that. And then the guy to himself, wow. Now, Fortunately or unfortunately, I learned about intervening in people's personal affairs at a relatively young age. I was a young man of high school age, and I was standing at a bus stop with a couple of other guys, and a van pulled up in front of the restaurant that was next to the bus stop, and the van was rocking and rolling, and the side door opens, and there was a female who was attempting to get out, and a hand comes out and snatches her back in, and the van go to rocking and rolling again, and the door opens and she tries to get out, and the hand comes out and snatches her out again, and the van goes to rocking and rolling, and she comes out and she gets almost out, and they outside of the van, and me and these guys who I don't know, but we're all of high school age. We're standing there and we actually talk amongst ourselves about going over and intervening in this adult interaction of a domestic affair. We sat up there, the three of us came to the conclusion that we should go over there and help this woman. We don't know nothing. And by the time we get up and we go over there, he done pulled her back in the van halfway, and we run up and like, hey, leave that woman alone. And when I tell you that the longest that I think at least the first or second longest one I've ever seen, the dirty Harry side of the game, came out of that van and told us to mind our own motherfucking business. And we politely turned our asses around and went back to the bus stop and minded our own business. And that's the lessons that you learn in what they call the hood. Is to mind your own business. Most of the folks don't know how to do that. But we'll talk about that later. Now, what I want to know is, what do you do under the circumstances that happened to this young man at the job place? And his female coworker is under attack, and the danger is immediate, and it's going down. And in that moment, what do you do? Listen, the length that some of these guys will go to get to these women and do the things that they want to do to them. I don't know what went on in their relationship. Are they just crazy for no reason? What has happened? One night, I'm coming out of a job, and listen, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. And there's a group of us walking from the building of the job out into the parking lot. And there's a turnstile there. By the time we get to the turnstile, there's people that are ahead of us that are going through the turnstile. This particular white woman, as she walks through the turnstile, a white guy, dropped from out of nowhere, because I didn't see this guy. This guy was like a ninja. All I got to say is he beat this woman up so quick and laid her out there in the parking lot, and jumped in his vehicle and took off. And there was at least 50 or 60 people, and nobody could tell you a license plate number, or could even agree on the make or model of the car. and he laid her out, sleep. So I mean that happened so fast nobody could have done anything. But what do you do if your coworker is under attack by her significant other? Now, I don't like to be the one calling the police. That's something that's very, very hard for me to do. Calling the police. But it is not up to me to intervene in someone's domestic abuse case or whatever is going on. Because what happens is what happened to this gentleman down there in Texas. You can end up getting yourself and your family is without. I think the woman, I didn't hear if anything, I know as far as I know she got beaten up, but I don't think she got just the two men. The one guy who was trying to help and the guy who was the beater. The woman beater. You know, I mean, that's a hard position to be put in because you know you're not supposed to get in that. But let's say you call Popo, you call the police, and they're on their way. But this is getting bad. Like, she might not last until they get there. And you're just standing there watching this go down. That's a hard position to be in. Because, like, I know I'm not supposed to get in that because of the stuck out the van. When that came out the van, that changed. That was a lesson of life to me. Because I'm telling you now, I'm 55 years old, and that happened when I was like 16, and I still remember it. So that tells you that, hey, that was one of those turning points in life where you would thank God you had sense enough to understand what that meant. You know? And it's not, oh, I'm a coward or it's just, you can go, when you're dealing with those kinds of, it's like two brothers getting into a fight. Let's say you're friends with one of the brothers. That's your homeboy. And him and his blood brother, his brother, they get into a fight. You stay out of that. Even if your homeboy's getting his ass whooped. Now, at the most, you try to stop it. But you don't jump in it. Because they may end up turning on you and beating the hell out of you. When it's I mean, that's a hard one right there, because as a man, you don't want to sit up and watch another man beat up a woman like she's a man, like he's putting fists and feet You know, that is, but you also have to think about your life and how people are, you know, because your job is to make it home to your family. How do you think if let's say you're a married man and that happened to you, you end up getting at work over a female coworker because she was getting handled roughly. She was getting beaten, stomped, and kicked and beat up. And they gotta come and tell you that your husband is no longer with us because he was saving this other woman from her mate. And your kids, I don't know nothing about this guy, but I'm just saying, hypothetically, your wife and your kids, and maybe you're lucky enough to still have your parents and everybody is like, dang, why did he jump in it? What made him? Now people are questioning whether or not you and the woman had something going on. And it may have been perfectly an innocent relationship, but hey, he must have been messing with her if he jumped in that and got himself. See? But in a split second situation where you got to make a decision because this person is about to maybe not make it until the authorities get there, Because me personally, I don't like to talk to the authorities. So if I called, I probably would have left before they got there. Like, because I don't want to, you're involving yourself, But then again, I don't want to leave and find out, oh, she didn't make it, Man, that's a hard one. That is a hard one. I think that I never understood that stalking shit. Like, you got time to monitor somebody else's movement where you're watching every fucking move they do, everywhere they go. You got nothing else going on in your life but this person, and you're gonna find out where they at and what they doing and who they with and harassing and stalking and calling and doing all of that. What the hell is wrong with people? That type of stuff is, I don't know. If I'm that mad at a broad, last thing I don't want to see her. Shit, I don't want to be nowhere around your ass. Hell, these niggas be hunting the women down like they owe them a bunch of money or something. Had a dude here in Michigan go up to the job. The woman worked at the hospital. He go all up in the hospital and the woman. And everybody knew he was a nut. Man, that's messed up. When you find out that the person that you with is an absolute nut, and to the point where you can't even quit them, that's got to be a hard way to go. You can't even quit them. I don't want to be with you no more. Oh no, you're gonna be with me. or else. And they be really meaning that shit. The or else part. Some sick bastards out here. But do you call a guy a coward for not jumping in something that he's not directly involved in? Let's say it's not even a coworker. Let's say it's a stranger and you happen up on it and there's a man beating the hell out of a woman. What do? Nowadays, to be honest, if it's somebody I don't know, I would probably move to a safe distance with some cover and yell, "Hey, stop that!" Where if he did kind of pull out and I'm gonna be out of the line of fire. Because anything else, you putting yourself in bad danger. You know, he might stick you with something. Or he might beat you up. I mean, of course, if it's your woman getting beat up, then I guess you have to put your life on the line. Shit. Yeah. You obligated then, but I mean, I think, you know, you should probably call the police and maybe get yourself to a safe distance away and yell, "Hey, stop that. Stop hitting that woman. I've called the police. They on the way. You know, everybody looking at you." And hopefully they'll stop. Because I personally don't want to get that helping a coworker and then I end up, you know, not making it home and he end up doing that to himself and she, you know, go to the hospital and get patched up and she the only one still walking around. And now there's questions. Even though I tried to be a hero, my character is being assassinated or at least questioned. What was going on with them? And that's natural for people to at least question that, but you know, being a hero can be very dangerous. You know. But, you know, I just wanted to ask that question, you know, see what y'all thought about that. About when is it, you know, do you intervene? Do you just call the police and you stand back there and watch? Or how bad does it get before you do something? You know? Who knows? But this has been another episode of Chopping It Up with UncleChon, the podcast. And this show is written, produced, directed, performed, and funded by me. And I'm UncleChon. Fuck peace.